Welcome to USC.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Great to be here. Go Mavs, yes, sir.
Mavs. Go Mavs. We're all glad that the Mavs won last night.
Yes, sir.
They look good.
They looked, yep.
They look. Dirk with the double-double.
Yep.
How long are you in town for?
I leave tomorrow morning.
All right. Well, we're excited to have you here. I know the students have been looking forward to this almost all semester. So I want to just sort of talk about some of your business background.
Sure, whatever you want.
Yeah, they're all the way up upper deck as well. And then sort of jump into Cyberdust later on.
I feel like I'm in a Disney ride because I can't see that way, and this is like...
There are probably 1,200 people, all the way, including all the way up the top, so it's tough to see. But this is probably our largest event of the semester, so
cool.
Thanks for being
Thank
here.
You.
This is really
cool.
cool.
Okay, let's get after it.
All right, let's go. So we like to sort of like get a little bit of context. Where'd you grow up?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
How big of a family?
2 younger brothers, mom, dad.
You're the oldest?
Yes.
Okay. And you had some early businesses?
Yeah, I was a hustler from day one. I mean, I did everything from packaging baseball cards and selling them on a picnic table in the local park, to selling garbage bags door to door, to buying and selling stamps. I mean, like, one of my proudest moments was being 16 and walking into a stamp show as a stamp collector, buying a stamp from one guy for $0.25, and no, it was 50 cents, and then walking around the stamp show, you know, pretty sure that I bought, this guy had misidentified this stamp, found somebody else who finally identified it as a more expensive stamp and sold it for $50. I'm like, I can get used to this, you know? So yeah, and it's just, it's gone from there. I mean, you know, in college, I opened up a bar before I was 21. Got closed down because they had a wet t-shirt contest, and the girl who came in third place turned out to be 16 and on probation for prostitution.
Why are they applauding?
And of course, we got to be good friends after that. No, just kidding.
No. Why are you applauding that? That makes no sense for you to applaud. So you learned early on from
not to let prostitution get in the way. Yeah.
We'll never shut you down. But just sort of, you've always had this intense focus on customers, no matter the size of the business.
Right.
What is the meaning of a customer in the digital world, a user, mean to you now?
It means the same thing. They own your ass. You know, I mean, there has never been a business that has survived without customers. And someone's got to pay the bills, and whoever's paying the bills, you know, I'm putting the knee pads on and whatever they need. That's just the way business works. And if I create a scenario where they feel like they're getting great value, and, you know, then I'm going to have a good business. And I have a saying that you have to re-earn your customer's business every single day. And I try to. No matter what the business, no matter what position I'm in, no matter how big or small. Because, you know, if your customers leave, what do you have left?
And you see that with everything you do, whether it's the Mavs fans, the way you treat them, the way you respond to users. I mean, it's no joke. He actually responds to Cyberdust and to emails, and it's the third entrepreneur I've met who has received funding from you or some type off a cold email. Mm-hmm. So things do happen.
So download Cyberdust, Cyberdust, ask Mark USC, and I do respond. I'll try to answer your questions after this, so anything that comes to mind, I'll hook you up.
And by the way, not like floor seats at the Mavs games, don't get out of control. But
well, it depends.
But just so you know, we're gonna try and do the Q&A through Cyberdust. So the students who have downloaded it, you can ask your questions live to him when we go to Q&A. All right. So you actually skipped your senior year in high school,
Yep.
Went to Pittsburgh, transferred to IU. I can't imagine a college student going to college and owning a bar. That just doesn't seem like.
See, I tried to do everything back-ass halfwards, right? So when I was 16 in high school, my junior year, they wouldn't let me take business classes that we had at Mount Lebanon High School because it was only for seniors. And so I just said, okay, well, I'll go to the University of Pittsburgh and take classes there. And that's what I did, and I realized, okay, I can handle this. I can compete with the older guys and girls. And so, but then Pitt didn't have a full business program, and so I saw a list of the top 10 business schools and picked out the cheapest one, and it was Indiana. Go IU. And thank you very much. And so I saw this, I went there, I'd never seen the campus. The only things I knew two things about it that were important to me. One, it was ranked one of the top 10 undergrad business schools, and it was the cheapest of those top 10. And two, the underground college encyclopedia, whatever it was, ranked it as one of the top 10 party schools. I'm like, bam, it's on. And so I get there, and I decided that for my first 2 years there, I was not going to drink. I was going to be like fun, have a great time, not drink. And I was going to challenge myself and take senior level classes so that my senior year I could take freshman level classes and party like a madman. And I had this thing planned. And so what I actually ended up doing when I went to register, I realized that there weren't a lot of filters or checks or signups for the classes. So I decided to jump in and take graduate level statistics. And so that's what I did. And I was like, okay, if I can pass graduate level statistics at 18, I can kick ass here. And so I got an A in it, and I'm like, okay. And then I ended up sneaking into the MBA program because they thought, okay, this kid's in here, he must be here for a reason. They let me take everything else. And so by the time I was a junior, by the time I finished my sophomore year, I had a year and a half of my MBA done, until one day the dean of the School of Business walked up to me on campus at the beginning of my junior year going, "What the hell did you just do? You are not an MBA student. Get out of here. We're kicking you back to undergrad." So that's just the way I always approach things. You know, you can challenge yourself and beg for forgiveness later.
I mean, it is true. You want to be great. You sort of do have to disrupt some things and piss people off, because otherwise you're sort of just following the rules.
Yeah, I mean, look, nobody ever really changed the world or changed an industry by just doing what everybody else is doing. And I always tried to look to see, even when I was a kid, it was like, okay, if this is the way everybody's doing it and everybody's just doing it because, how would I do it differently? You know, even when I opened up my bar, right, it was like, okay, they're playing this music, that music sucks. They're geared towards this type, you know, and had a dance floor. Let's get rid of the dance floor. You know, let's put in drinks. Let's have, you know, Nerf, you know, we have Nerf basketball leagues and, you know, just stuff that's dumb shit, but it was different, you know. And by just trying things that may seem dumb and are different, you learn, you know, how to break through and try new things. And that's just always worked well for me.
And it's not, especially in tech, you know, you invest in companies, it's not incrementally better, right? It's, you know, you don't want to be just a little better than the competition, because by the time you get out, they've already passed you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big mistakes that entrepreneurs make is they lie to themselves all the time. So, you know, whether it's on Shark Tank or it's investing in a company, people say, well, we're a better this than that, right? Well, whoever it is, you know, if you're faster, cheaper, anything that ends in an S or an er, right, to describe why I should invest in you and why your company's going to be successful. Whoever it is you're competing with isn't sitting there saying, yeah, we're fucked, you know? That's just not the way it works, you know? They're looking back and saying, okay, you may think that, but I'm not standing still. You may be trying to disrupt me, but I'm working to stay ahead of you. And so, you know, to get into that type of grind just was never very appealing to me. And it's not to say I've never invested in a business that doesn't have some Me Too elements, but I always tried to have a vision of how you can be completely different or how you can turn it upside down.
Excellent. And so let's talk about your first tech business. Tell us about what was Micro Solutions and sort of how did you grow it, and then what was the result of that?
So I got a job working at a software store in Dallas, Texas, selling computer software. And I didn't know a lot about computer software, so what I would do is I would come in early, stay late, come in weekends, and sit there teaching myself all the different software. I mean, I literally would sit there and read software manuals. I taught myself how to program, and I would go out and sell software to businesses, or anybody really who wanted it. And then one day I had a big sale, and it was at a company called Your Business Software. I worked for a guy named Michael Humecki. And so I went in and I said, Michael, I've got this big deal I'm going to close. I'm going to go pick up a $15,000 check. My commission was going to be $1,500. And mind you, I'm living in this 3-bedroom apartment, 6 guys. I'm sleeping on the floor. My shit's in a pile over here. And I have towels that stand up on their own, you know? It is just the grossest ever. And so I'm thinking, yeah, I get to move. We called it the hotel. I get to move out of the hotel into a real apartment. And he says, no. I'm like, Michael, he goes, no, you're supposed to open the store. It was a retail store. You have to make sure the windows are clean. You have to make sure the floor is swept and the displays are all. I said, Michael, I'm going to go close this deal. And he goes, no. And I'm like, I promised him, I got to go. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go and pick up this check, and I'm going to hand it to my boss, Michael Humecki, and he's going to be all excited because he's got this check. This is, a small business. I come back, he fires me. I take my check back, put it in my pocket, and take that customer and go start a company called Micro Solutions. And I'm 24 years old, still unfortunately sleeping on the floor, 6 guys. But I started Micro Solutions and started working with PCs, started writing software. But what we did that was smart on our part, we talked about going away from the grain. Back then, it was not typical for PCs to be connected together. Today, everything's connected. But back then, if you wanted somebody else to have information that you had on your PC, you would take your floppy, you would copy it to your floppy, you would carry it over to the other PC, and you plug it in the floppy, and that's how you shared information. And the concept of connecting them together was new. And so as it turned out, I went to this company who had this software. They were called Novell Share Data, and Novell Share System, Novell Data System, I think it was. And I'm like, okay, I want to use your software and start reselling this. They're like, fine, you're going to be our first guy in Texas. You're one of our first 3 resellers in the United States. So as it turns out, I'd started this company, and we were one of the first companies to start integrating PCs into local area networks. And once we got good at it and the software evolved, we started writing software, multi-user software, and we grew to the point where we were integrating video into multi-user databases for Zales so that they could look at pictures of watches to place purchase orders, or Walmart so they could, we wrote their first X.12 automated PO system, right? And so we just started taking advantage of the fact that no one else knew networking. And, I was 24 and, I was definitely in a work hard, play hard mode. But we grew to 80 people, $36 million in sales. And then when I was 29, CompuServe, which was owned by H&R Block, came along and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I sold and took that money and partied like a rock star.
It's funny, you hear the same things over and over from people who sort of really done it. One, a lot of people say getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, by far. I was a horrible employee.
And two, to everybody who wants glamorous jobs and that, can you talk about the importance of being a salesperson and learning sales skills, no matter what you do?
Yeah, people always ask, what do I need to know to be successful? If you can't sell, you're SOL, because you're always selling. And when I say that, you have to understand what sales means. Selling is not about convincing somebody to give you money for something they don't want, right? Selling is about knowing in your heart and your mind and your soul that the product or service you have can help anybody in your potential customer universe, your prospect universe. And so, whether I was selling baseball cards, whether I was selling stamps, whether I was selling you this new vodka drink I just invented to try to get you trashed at my bar, whatever it was, this was the best thing you could ever possibly have for your life. And the same thing applies to all my businesses now. I'm always selling because I believe in my products and I believe they can help. And if I have something that I don't believe will help you, then it's not a good product. And so when people say, well, I'm not into sales, well, are you into helping your customers? Are you into, telling people why your product or service is good? Because if you can't do that, you're in the wrong spot. When people say, well, I don't know if my business is working, how do you know when to keep going or stop selling or end your business? If you don't believe you can sell your product, if you don't know this is a great product and you can convey that to anybody who might have an interest, then it's time to close the doors. Because if you're not, again, I go back to what I said earlier, there's never been a company that survived without sales, ever. Ever. Did I say ever? Yeah, ever. And so you have to know how to sell or you're wasting your time.
Great point. And it's a skill set that you have. You use it when I graduated from law school. I sold.
A lawyer?
I was. Yeah. I didn't tell you that before.
You're lucky.
But no, while I was going to school here, I sold cars at my friend's car dealership. And
you're a lawyer and you sell cars, used cars, right?
No, new cars. Yeah, exactly. The best of all worlds. No, but I took it off my resume because I didn't think it was prestigious enough. And I was
Shocking.
interviewing at investment. No, but then I went to interview at investment banks, and they literally
sales,
said,
yeah.
selling cars is the best experience to be an investment banker.
Well, like if you watch, anybody here watch Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Good, I like that. You'll hear me say a lot when someone comes in and they sell door to door. You know, I sold magazines door to door, and I remember what I had. If you can sell magazines door to door, you can have the confidence to sell anything. I remember walking up and saying, ma'am, I'm here to tell you that 75 don't you realize that 75 cents a week for the education and enjoyment of your family, isn't that a great investment? Isn't that something that's going to pay dividends for a lifetime? Just 75 cents? Always works.
He's so cute, he's harmless at that age, you can sell
Yeah,
anything,
but
too.
seriously though, I mean, you know, to this day, understanding objections and overcoming them, but, you know, if you're, you know, selling the right magazines today, you should be reading The Economist. You should be reading Business Week, whether it's online or physically. You should be subscribing to them because, like today, I'll still walk in bookstores. Who goes to bookstores? And I don't go because I'm dying to buy a book. I go just to survey the shelves in the magazine racks for ideas. You know, if there's a magazine, then there must be enough interest. Somebody thinks there's enough interest for that topic to carry forward in this day and age, which is saying something. If there's a book being written, you know, should I buy it to read, you know, or is it telling me that this is an area of interest that I've missed for some reason? So there's always clues and signals, but you know, you've always got to be paying attention and looking for ways to improve.
Excellent. So let's shift forward to 1995. You started a company with Todd Wagner called AudioNet. So what was it, and how did you translate your passion for IU basketball into a business?
So, you know, at Indiana, basketball is kind of like football is here when, you know, at USC, from best I can tell, if you don't win and go to a bowl game, everybody says fire the coach. And, you know, no matter what. And at Indiana, you know, if you don't win a national championship, they want you fired too. And it was a religion. And back then, when we'd want to listen to games against our rival, Purdue, we would get somebody in Bloomington or Indianapolis to put a speakerphone next to a radio, and we would do the same thing on our end, and we'd be drinking and cheering and yelling, and, you know, I was like, okay. And then the internet started to happen, and, you know, like, I was a geek, and so I tried to keep up with all new technology, and I'm sitting there going, okay, there's got to be a better way now that, you know, the net is starting to offer connectivity everywhere. And we looked at a couple different options, and when it came down to it, Todd Wagner said, you know what, this is going to be the foundation for a business. So we started looking around, and it didn't exist. This thing that we now call streaming that everybody does, it was nowhere. Literally, it was like, okay, we got it. Do we write the software? Do we find the software? We found some people who were working on software, and no one understood how to put together this business. And so that's what we did. We said, you know what? You don't know what streaming is, or netcasting, we called it a lot, but you will, and this is going to take over what we perceive as, you know, cable and satellite, or back then satellite wasn't even really popping yet. But we knew it was going to be enormous. We just had to figure out how to get there. And so we started it off as AudioNet. We found a local Dallas radio station, KLIF, and we put we put a VCR. Anybody remember what a VCR is? And VCRs used to have, you could buy tapes that vary in length. So we would get the 8-hour VCR tapes. And we'd take it down to this radio station. We'd connect it to the audio board, you know, audio out of theirs, audio into ours, and it would record 8 hours. Then we'd take it back, we'd encode it, and then we'd put it on this website called AudioNet. And I would go out there, like I said, always selling every, you know, that's back when AOL and Prodigy and CompuServe and, you know, all these different type of environments. And I would say, you got to check it out. If you're a Dallas sports fan, no matter where you are in the world, if you download this software and you come to this site, you know, you're going to love what you hear, and tell me what you think. And it just blew up. I mean, literally within days, we couldn't handle the traffic. I mean, seriously, the way we started was I went to Staples and bought a Packard Bell computer for $29.95, and I bought an ISDN line, which is 128K, which back then was the fastest you can get, and it was in the second bedroom of my house, and that's where we did everything. And then within a couple months, we started to do live. And literally, one of the first live broadcasts ever streaming on the internet, forget Meerkat and all that, one of the first live broadcasts was me in the second bedroom of my house with a microphone into our computer where we're encoding going, I am the king of the internet. Is anybody listening? I am the king. Send me an email to mcuban@audionet. And we started to get some emails listening, and they're like, that's cool, right? You are the king of the internet. And so, I've worn that title ever since. No. But it just started to grow from there, and we started locking in the rights for 400 different schools, hundreds of radio stations. As we got into video, we changed our name to broadcast.com, and literally we bought 10% of Lionsgate Studios and took all their movies and took some of their shows, and we were streaming them on demand, and where we could get whatever we could get live. We streamed the Super Bowl first, we streamed the World Series first, the Final Four first, and this is all in 1995, 6, 7, 8. And so it just got bigger and bigger and bigger until, we were doing, 1 million plus users a day. And, back then that was a lot. And then, we bought a site called SimpleNet because I was adamant with all of our people that it was just a matter of time before everybody was going to be able to upload their own video. Back then, you would have a digital video camera, not a phone, but your camera. Remember, this is still in the days when you had the little Motorola flip phones, and that was cool, and there was no video, there was no real data. But you had digital video cameras that had not fire line, I forget the name, whatever it was, a fire wire that would come out, and you could connect to a PC and immediately upload your video. I'm like, that's it. That's what's going to happen. So we started off with businesses, and we would get businesses to take videos of their events, upload it, stream it, and boom. And then we started doing some users and smaller stuff, but we would charge them for it because bandwidth was a lot more expensive back then. And so that was 98, and we were just blowing up. We were, selling advertising, and we were making money broadcasting events like this. Like, this is probably streaming. And, if we were back then, we would charge you, $5,000. If it was internet or Motorola and they were broadcasting a product introduction around the world, we did one with Intel when they released the Pentium, and they broadcast it worldwide. We had a Chinese version of a French version, a German version. And we charged them $500,000 to do it. And so our business was great. We were growing. The whole streaming industry, we were just dominating, and we went public on July 18th, 1998. That was a fun day. I remember driving to the NASDAQ where we were going to be public, and they had priced the stock at $18. And when they price it, that's what you sell to the initial buyers of the IPO. But then there's demand for it, and some of those buyers sell. And so we didn't really know where it would open. And so we're all taking bets and this and that, and I'm thinking $30 would be amazing, $35 would be incredible. In the back of my mind, I'm calculating my net worth, of course. And so we get there, and they're like, it's delayed. And they're like, no, don't worry, it's a good thing. An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours go by, 4 hours. Finally, we get to 1 o'clock. Thing opens up at $62.75. And realized, in order to generate that demand for that stock, we had to do what's known as a roadshow, where we would go to all these potential investors, and we would have a presentation that we spent all this time on to make it just a really, really great-looking PowerPoint. And they had no idea what we were talking about. It got to the point where we would intentionally mess it up, to entertain ourselves, because their eyes were glassed over. But they still bought, and it was oversubscribed 100 times. So by the end of the day, it had reached $72 and then closed at $62.75, which made it at that time the largest first-day IPO jump in the history of the stock market. So we did what any... Thank you. So I did what anybody who knows me would expect of me and Todd, my partner Todd Wagner. We went to Harry's, this bar on Wall Street, and every time a story came up on broadcast.com, we did a shot. I don't remember the rest of the night, but I know we had fun. So yeah, and then with a horrible hangover, we flew back and realized that, that was not the end, that was the beginning. Because we literally had investors who had paid $72 for the stock. And we had to go to work, and that was a responsibility I took seriously, and that we did.
So you changed the name to broadcast.com, so I think
Right.
in 98, most successful opening day percentage-wise ever. 4 years, right? 95 to 99, I think you held
Yeah.
it. That, I know you worked hard. That's a pretty short time. What happened in 1999?
So we were killing it. We were, our last public quarter, I think we did $23 million in 1998 dollars, and I think we lost $1 million, so it was essentially break even. And we had Yahoo had been an investor along with Intel, Motorola, and some other folks would come in right before we went public. And Yahoo said, we know that multimedia is the future, and you guys are dominating. We want to buy you. And I'm like, okay. So we did what we were supposed to do. We brought in investment bankers, and we sat in this room. And they're like, okay, we're going to offer you, I forget what the pricing was, we're going to offer you some amount per share for your 28 million. No, we're going to offer you 28 million shares of Yahoo stock for all your outstanding shares of broadcast.com. And we did the math and everything, and we're like, and it was $5.7 billion. And I'm sitting in the room going, that's not enough. He goes to me, well, then we're walking. And I said, that's a great offer. We'll take it. Boom. Seriously. And I looked at Todd. He goes, yeah, we can live with that. Boom. Shook hands. And so, like I said, what would you expect from Mark Cuban after closing a deal like that? So we took all the Yahooligans that we had worked with, and we went to this local bar in San Jose, and realized I wasn't poor because I had sold my first company. I in between there and Broadcast AudioNet, I had started a hedge fund and sold that and traded the market and just killed it, right? So I was doing okay. And so I did what I do. We went to this bar, and I bought 1,000 kamikazes. And I was like, paper cups are fine, so they took out every paper cup that they had, and literally this bar was stacked around the whole bar, not just on the bar, on the floor, on the tables, everywhere. And, like I said, I don't remember the rest of the night, but we had fun. So if y'all know any of my Shark Tank companies and you want to buy something from me, there's a theme going on here. So.
Well, Mark, you think you came under the auspices of a talk to students, but this is actually an intervention.
Okay.
We're worried about you. Not at all.
Don't be.
Not
Yeah,
at all.
don't be.
Not at all. So you sell, and they pay you in stock.
Yeah.
And post-sale, Yahoo struggles with the acquisition. They don't really know how to do it.
Well, no. Okay, so let's put it in context here, right? So we sell the company, and I don't remember the exact price of Yahoo stock. It was like $250. And from my perspective, this was April of 2000 when it closed, and I don't see the stock market just going up forever. I mean, literally, the NASDAQ just passed 5,000, which is where it was back then in 2000. And like I said, I traded stocks. I had started and sold a hedge fund. And so I understood what happens in the market, and gravy trains don't last forever. And so I'm like, look, this is crazy. I mean, it's always been a little crazy, but it's getting even too heated. And so I had to wait 6 months before I could hedge my stock, meaning buy an offset in case it went down. So I literally took every penny I had, 20-some million dollars in cash, and I bought put on an index against the entire market. And that put was for 6 months, knowing that it got me to the point where I could hedge all my Yahoo stock, and in case, but if the market crashed prior to that, I was as good as I could be. The market didn't crash. I lost every penny. But the minute I was allowed to, I hedged everything. Everything, right? Everybody thought I was an idiot. There's literally a CNBC interview where he said, Mark, don't you feel stupid? Yahoo stock is up another $100. And by this time, I'd already sold the Mavs. And I remember sitting on the team bus talking to our then coach and one of our coaches, Del Harris. And he goes, look at all that money you left on the table. And I'm like, literally in one day, the stocks were jumping so crazily. One day, I paid for the entire Mavericks in the stock move of one day. And they're like, but you left all this on the table. And I'm like, patience. I did an interview on CNBC, and he goes, don't you feel horrible that you left, $1 billion+ on the table, and it's on tape? He goes, I said, yeah, I feel really bad flying around in my G5s, just horrible. But everybody thought I was an idiot. Even people who worked for me, I told everybody, and Todd listened. Some people did, and some people didn't, because every single person who had worked for us for more than a couple months was, at least on paper, a millionaire. And that was 300+ people. And so we had a lot of smiley faces around the office, and I'm like, look, and they're like, oh, see, you were wrong, the stock's going up. And then, the bubble burst, and it went, and, it's unfortunate, a lot of people got crushed. But, because I had hedged everything, I actually benefited in some respects and came out further ahead. But from there, the problem with Yahoo and what happened afterwards wasn't so much what we were doing. It's once Yahoo stock went from $300-some to $5 or something crazy, they freaked out. And, as I was saying before, the stuff we were doing at broadcast, there's literally next to nothing that YouTube or some of these other folks do today, even, other than being mobile. Even the stuff that Meerkat's doing, we were doing on laptops, that we weren't doing 15 years ago. But, Yahoo wimped out. And when the stock price crashed, they started cutting everything and anybody, and that was the end of it. They bought a music company who thought they could do it better. They went in their direction, and that was it. And so broadcast.com, even though they used a lot of the technology and kept a lot of the people, broadcast.com itself was no longer.
Brilliant move to sort of hedge that. So you mentioned you bought a plane, and the only reason I want to ask is you bought it in a unique way, didn't you?
Yeah.
How and where did you buy the plane?
Bought it online.
PayPal?
No, this is pre-PayPal. Went online to Gulfstream.com. Sent an email. Can I do a test flight? Test flight was amazing. Got to hire a pilot. This is pretty cool, right? Send an email back. All right, I need wiring instructions. This is the unit, da-da-da-da-da. Got the wiring instructions online. Bam. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Largest online purchase at the time ever. Still is?
Yep. It was just funny because one of my buddies came in a couple years afterwards. Go, did you see the Guinness World Book of Records? You're in it. I'm like, what the hell did I do? All those shots, maybe?
1,000 kamikazes.
That's what I was hoping for. That I would have been proud of. But yeah, it was for the largest online transaction.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, let's talk Mavs for a couple minutes, and then
Sure.
we'll talk Shark Tank. So in January 2000, you purchased a controlling interest in the Dallas Mavericks. Always want to be basketball, or always want to be a sports owner?
Neither. I had no clue. I mean, when you're growing up a chubby kid in Pittsburgh, thinking, trying to sell stamps, I love basketball. I still play pickup. It's in my blood, but it never crossed my mind that I was going to own a team. It wasn't a goal. But what happened was the start of the 99-2000 season at opening night. It's opening night. We're undefeated. I'm excited, What could be wrong on opening night? And it's not a sellout. Nobody's excited. There's no energy in the stands. And I'm thinking, if I own this team, I could do so much better. And it was like, ding, 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 ding. Now I could afford it. So, plane, and I'm like, okay, if the stock goes up enough tomorrow, it's no problem. So I got a hold of Mark Aguirre, a former Maverick who was working there at the time, and he connected me with the owner at the time, Ross Perot Jr., and within a couple of weeks we had a deal, and, boom, that I went from season ticket holder to owning the team.
And you mentioned sort of the before picture was pretty. It was dismal in a lot of ways. They're losing history, didn't make the playoffs for 10 years.
Yeah, we got voted
years.
the worst professional sports franchise of the 90s. That was our claim to fame. you know how the Clippers were before recently, all those struggling years for the Clippers, we made the Clippers look good back then. They were that bad. I mean, we would lose players over $10,000 or $100,000. And so when I bought it, we were 9-23. That was our record. And I remember sitting and talking to the coach who's thinking I'm going to fire him. And he's like, well, we could probably, kind of bag the rest of the season and go for a pick. And I'm like, no, at some point, you've got to learn how to win. So we're going to win. And we're going to do our best to try to win because I think we've got talent, and we'll find out. And this is the team with Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki and Michael Finley, and we're 9-23. And so I go in there and I give them a little pep talk, and and I remember meeting the players for the first time because after I bought the Mavs, what do you think I did? You guys are so smart at USC, I can't put anything by. But I'd seen Steve Nash and Dirk out that night before, and they had no idea. And so the next day after I'd closed the deal and I was getting ready to be introduced to the team, and one other thing, so when I'd seen them out, I'm like, hey, I'm big fans, guys. They had no idea. Can I buy y'all a beer? And they're looking at me going, no. And I'm like, okay, right, see you tomorrow. And they're like, and they had no idea what I was talking about. And so I show up the next day, and you can see their eyes getting real big. But I remember talking to the guys, and I'm like, so what can we do to change things, just to change the attitude, change the culture? And they started talking about, well, we stay in hotels that don't have room service just to save money. And a guy who we had named Gary Trent said, Mark, do you know what it's like? You're in Oakland, California to play the Warriors. You get there in the back-to-back. You get there 2 in the morning. You don't have room service. You know how hard it is to find a 7-Eleven? Do you want us walking up and down the streets? I'm like, I get your point. But that was how bad it was. And when you don't respect the people that work for you, when you don't put them in a position to succeed, they're not going to lay it out. I mean, basketball is a physical game. It's grueling to last an entire season. It's hard to put your body out there every night and take that beating. And so just doing things like upgrading the hotels, and just, I brought in a chef to cook meals before games, brought in coaches, just told them, look, my job is to put you in a position to succeed, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And from there, from 9-23, we went the rest of the season and finished out 40-42. Didn't make the playoffs, but, had a great closeout until the rest of the season. And then the next year we won 50-some games and then 60 games and made it to the finals in 2006, got ripped off. But I'm not bitter.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, we're losing in the finals. I couldn't leave my house for 3 weeks. No shots for me. And so, and then finally, in 2011, we finally won.
Got over the mountain. So some of the things that you did are sort of commonplace now in terms of the way you take care of players, but players really want to play for the Mavs and play, on a team that you own because of the way that you treat them. I actually got a text from someone last night because I asked, anonymous, and just said it's a different place. He's been in a couple different teams. But the things like, you're 7 feet tall. Do you really want to sit on a regular plane? You got them a plane for tall people.
I had special seats. Yeah, it's not a plane for tall people. We put special seats in there for tall people.
But
JJ Barea, who's 5'9", you go on the little people plane. Dirk, you're 7 foot. You go on the big people plane.
So you mentioned, so if anyone's seen Mark at a Mavs game, he's not up in the luxury boxes. He's down by the court where his voice can be heard.
Yep.
His first season, so very outspoken. First season as an owner, I think he racked up $700,000 plus in fines.
Who's counting?
And, we got a picture. Got a picture of Mark giving it to somebody.
No, the best part is this year.
After he calms down.
Yeah.
Do you have the other picture? There you go.
Actually, I'm going, see, this is my audition for the Hulk.
If you search Mark Cuban yelling referees, there are a lot of pictures
there's no
out
shortage
there, by the
of
way,
pictures
when you're grabbing them.
And this is me being calm.
I'm
glad I didn't wear that shirt because I was going to. Yeah.
In 2002, as an owner, you're one of the stakeholders in the league, right? And so you're never allowed to say anything against the league, which Mark doesn't adhere to. In 2002, you said that referee Ed Rush wasn't qualified to run a Dairy Queen. It cost you $500,000. By the way, for every one of these fines, he matches them with charitable contributions. So this is double the amount. So now he's offended Dairy Queen.
Can we go to the next picture, please?
No, not yet.
Oh, sorry. I remember that.
Since when do you listen to him? You're supposed to listen to me. So Mark now Dairy Queen is mad because he said, they said, you know how hard it is to run a Dairy Queen? It's very difficult. And so Mark, being the salesman, the promoter, what did you do?
I went to work for Dairy Queen my one day. And so you see me here, let me just tell you, my soft ice cream mechanics sucked, right? So if you ever wanted to make a curly Q Dairy Queen cone, right? It's 917. That's how you do it, 917. I could not get it right. But the guy next to Parrish Chapman, he went nuts, right? So he called every media outlet. I got there at 6:30 thinking I was going to learn how to do it before it opened, and I got there at 6:30. There was line already a mile long. By 9 when they opened, there were helicopters everywhere. The phone is ringing. Katie Couric calling me, right? And Katie Couric is saying, how could you give those referees a hard time like that? I'm like, bye. So it was an experience.
But always there is an opportunity to sort of promote your brand. And
selling,
get out there.
right? What do we talk about selling?
Yeah.
If you believe in what you have and what you do, you can have fun with it and sell.
And probably worth its weight in promotion and publicity for what you're doing.
I mean, it took a long time before the number one topic that people would bring up to me wasn't Dairy Queen. Literally, that's all I would hear about. How's Dairy Queen? I mean, I would walk into a Dairy Queen and people were like, ah!
Oh, that's great. Oh, wait, let's talk Shark Tank for a second.
Sure.
And then let's do this. Let's take a look at what's ahead for Shark Tank this year. All right. So let's play Shark Tank and crank the volume. Crank the volume. I want to hear it. So it's better to be lucky than good, and we're really lucky tonight for our Shark Tank discussion. Please welcome the executive producer of The Voice, Apprentice. What else am I missing? Survivor, and of course Shark Tank. Our good friend, please welcome Mark Burnett.
Hey everybody.
Things just happen around here. I can't explain it, but when you send an email and say, hey, Mark Cuban's coming on Monday, he types back, I'm in.
Hey, I'm just glad we rescued Cuban from Texas and brought him to a real city.
Oh, you're killing me.
Los Angeles.
Killing me.
By the way, he's got a house in Manhattan Beach, he's got a car here, he's got 1 foot in, so we
That's
know
right.
that he's going to be here.
Listen, everybody knows Cuban's gone Hollywood.
I mean, I'm immaculate. My clothes say it all. You know.
He's Hollywood.
I'm all Hollywood.
Mark, thanks for coming. Can you turn up Mark Burnett's microphone a little bit, please? You always show up for USC. You were so good to us, so generous with the students. One of our students pitched him after he spoke, by the way. He's been making games since he was a kid. He's been making Survivor challenges. If I can get an interview, not only did he get an interview, he worked on Survivor over the summer, Nick Metzler.
Awesome.
So thanks for doing that. It was a great story. It really was great.
David, I love USC, and I think that we're looking here at the future of American business, and that's why I'll always show up for this business school. You guys are the future, and it's just great.
Thanks. Well, you guys are the present, so let's talk the present. What is it about Shark Tank that is just so compelling that it seems to get more popular all the time?
Because what did you see in it first?
That's true.
I actually saw it in England under its original name, Dragon's Den, and all my friends who I'd known since I was growing up in England were talking about it all the time. And any show that's communal viewing, that people watch as a group and argue about, is going to be great ratings. And Shark Tank in America, Cuban show, is like the main thing in the world of business now. And everywhere I go, people are talking about Shark Tank because in the end, every young American wants to start a business. It's the American dream. And what Shark Tank is showing is how you can do it and what not to do. And that's what's great about it.
Speaking of, and speaking of the American dream, we're going to get Mark Burnett to come back when his schedule allows. But here's a guy who came from Great Britain as a commando in the Special Forces, became a nanny here, then sold T-shirts on a section of fence in Venice. Talk again, sales, hustle. Both of them have this in common, and built. When you say the American dream, the largest house in Malibu, it's no coincidence that Mark lives there. But what is it about that?
You are so Hollywood.
And proud of it.
And you know what? My house in Texas is still bigger.
That's because everything in Texas is bigger, right? all hat and no cattle.
Right.
And cheaper. So what does Mark bring to the show that's sort of unique to?
Oh, Cuban's amazing. I mean, we were friends before Shark Tank, and that's how I managed to get him to listen at the idea, to do it. And I'm so grateful, Mark, to you that you came on initially, thought, I'll try this out, and just loved it because Cuban is so competitive. And it's what it's about, right? That's what Shark Tank is. It's not only the entrepreneurs competitively trying to get that money, which they're not going to get from a bank. Hard to get money from a bank for a business. Here are a bunch of guys sitting there who actually have the cash to write a check. But the sharks are competitive, and they always want to win. It's not about whether they have enough money or not. It's the American way. We always want to win. And I mean, listen, from the Mavericks and everything else, Cuban is probably one of the most competitive guys I've ever met. And I love him. And I love the fact that, you call Cuban up, if you're one of us, he'll answer the phone, his phone. You say what you're doing, he'll drive his car over and meet you at a restaurant in the valley. Cuban is a guy who actually does things. He's not sitting there in some ivory tower with thousands of people doing everything for him. Yeah,
See, I did not go Hollywood, see?
No. Cuban actually does the work. And I think that's the one thing to take away from tonight. This is a guy, and he's got what he's got because he actually is rolled his sleeves up and does the actual work. And I've seen it with my own eyes, and I so respect you. Respect you.
It is all about the doing, and really you do have to do it. And for entertainment purposes, you do take sort of smack talk to a next level, so it's great entertainment.
No, it's honest. Trust me. Some of the sharks, I won't mention names, but all of them, they worry about their brand, their image, how it's going to look, and they try to here's my shtick. I'm like, fuck it. It's like, I get mad. I pick on Robert sometimes because he's so syrupy because, he wants to hold every puppy that comes in because that's who he's supposed to be. You see me roll my eyes all the time because I'm like, let's make some money. That's why we're here, right? And let's get this done and let's get this going. And I try to have respect for the entrepreneurs because their lives are on the line. And so, you don't see me, okay, here's my look, here's my thing, here's my spiel. It's just like whatever comes out is just for real. Yeah, and it's funny. Tell them how it all works.
First of all, these guys, the sharks, have never heard about the name of the business, who the people are, or anything about it. Everything is real at that moment. They're sitting there, and someone comes out.
All we know is their first name.
The first thing they see is in the act break, people setting up a stand, and it could be skateboards or bikes or food, and they're like, and it's so fun. It's like a game, right? It's like, wow, what's going to happen now? And then you're going to see, it's got to be a combination of a solid idea, which is for all of you to know for anything you do. It's got to have a solid idea. You've got to know the details of what things cost, what the market competitivity is, how you're going to market it, what the costs of goods are. And you've got to be able to realize that half of what they're buying is the entrepreneur. Because if the idea is good, but the person selling it sucks, that's who they're betting on. So you're probably more likely to have a less of a full idea, but a fantastic entrepreneur they're going to bet on.
But some more of the background, right? So we get there at whatever time in the morning and start filming 8:30, depending on the setup and everything. And you might notice we wear the same clothes. So I have a blue shirt if Barbara's there. I have a white shirt if Lori's there. That's the big change. Because they just bring in, we don't shoot episodes. They bring in deal after deal after deal all day long. And the deals in real time run 25 minutes, I think, is our all-time shortest if it's really stupid. You know, like if you remember this episode, taillights, just dumb shit, right? Or the plate topper guy that took 2.5 hours. It was just, but we sit there and you see us bring out paper and pencil or a pen and pad because we're not allowed to look up anything on a phone. We're not allowed to look up anything online at all. So that's why you see us taking notes and just trying to figure things out. So you're concentrating so hard. Yes. And then they take all the, however long it is, and cut it down to what, 10 minutes, 14 minutes? I don't even know how long the pitches are. And like the intro stuff where you see all the syrupy stuff. Hi, this is me, this is my wife, and this is our kids. We don't see any of that. We don't see, thank God.
No, but it's tough, and it's everyone here, most people here, I can't say everyone here, most people here want to start a business or already are running a business, and no, it's serious. No one's giving you a check for your business idea just for free money. It's not monopoly, it's all real money. It's their real money, and they're holding people accountable. And when they ask a question like, oh, what's that product cost to make? What does it cost if you make 10,000 of them? If people don't have these answers, they're looking like, dude, I'm going to, like, you're asking me for $100,000 or $500,000
$2 million
for a part of your company?
Yeah.
I mean, are you serious? I'm betting on you. I'm not a babysitter. I mean, that's what they're not babysitters. They're expecting people to come and be ready. And you got people showing up, and they've been rehearsing their pitch forever. So if some of them come in and really, really can't explain it clearly, it's a real worry. Because in the end, as I've been backstage watching this, as Cuban keeps saying, you know, that you have to be able to sell. If you can't enunciate properly and sell your idea in a short enough period of time, people are not going to buy you, and they're not going to go for it. And you know, in the end, American business, guys, props up the entire world. If American government, which the money the government gets is from our taxes, right? If the American government stopped giving money to the rest of the world and American individuals stopped donating, the world would collapse. It's America and it's business that provides the money to help us help the world. This is like a big chain event, and Shark Tank is the epitome. It's showing what it's really like.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reason doing the show is a lot of work. The filming of it itself, we film 11 days in June, 11 days in September. That's easy. But when you, like, I've invested in 35, I don't even know, right? That's a lot of work to manage and help and support, because I don't want to be that guy where someone gets interviewed and they say, well, Cuban's not involved at all. I get reports every week from these people, bad news first, because I expect good news. I want to be able to deal with the bad news. And then I'll try to help them. I've got 15 people now that work for me that just work on these deals. We take over their accounting, we take over their internet, their website, everything, because we're partners now, right? So the challenge isn't doing the show, it's making sure we help these companies prosper. But the real reason I do the show is, alluding to what Mark said, it tells everybody that the American dream is alive and well. And we hear it every day that, you know, families love to watch our show. Yeah. It's crazy that people, the most powerful people in any industry, they'll come up to me and go, oh yeah, Shark Tank, not Mavs, not this, not that. Shark Tank, my 11-year-old loves it. That's the only thing we watch as a family. My 8-year-old is talking about net income. You know, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and her friends are like, did you really buy that company? Ew. I mean, it's just like, I would never, you know? And so it was just, when you see that, you know, we're impacting people. We're helping people really recognize that, you know, it's not about learning business through a lemonade stand. You can watch Shark Tank. I call it all the time the New Age lemonade stand. We will teach you about business. We will give you the confidence to start a business. And like Mark said, we'll also teach you some of the things you shouldn't do. Yeah. And if you come in trying to trick us and trick 5 people, I will smack the shit out of you, right? And I actually like that as much as like if you remember the guy with the balance bracelet guy, or Scotty vest, with the wires up the vest. I love the ones where they're trying to pull one over on, and it's not just us, trying to pull one over on America, because, being on Shark Tank is better than being on the homepage of Amazon for a week.
Yes.
I mean, the impact on a company's sales is amazing. And so when someone comes in trying to, to pull a fast one, that's half the fun for me.
Mark, I have a dream. I have a dream that someday there'll be a Shark Tank College Edition hosted here at USC, where the finest student entrepreneurs from around the country come here to one of the finest programs.
Indiana's here?
They will be welcome. They will be welcome because everybody wants to move and shoot in Indiana. We have the finest.
But the difference is, despite the weather, they still go.
They still do.
Right.
So the dream is that we have this college version, sort of like they used to do College Jeopardy, college startup with everyone coming here. We got the best film school, the entrepreneur program, we got the sound stages, we've got you guys. And my dream would be that it would happen. But because that can't happen right now, do you think maybe we could give you guys, we got these two great entrepreneurs, can we have a pitch? Can we have a cold pitch?
You guys want to hear a pitch?
You guys want a cold pitch? You game? Quick. So here's the deal. You have 90 so I'm gonna call up Stasis Labs. Michael's in my class. I'm gonna call him up. But here's the rules.
Yeah, don't limit it to 90 seconds. Just let him.
Okay.
Yeah, just
quickly.
do your thing.
Well, we have wait a minute.
And realize
quickly,
this isn't TV. I'm allowed to curse. I'm allowed to.
This is real. It's happening. I know you've got a good company. So Michael, are you up here? Come on up. Walk around the corner. I'll give you a wireless mic. Let's hear it.
Hey guys, my name is Dinesh C. McCurdy, and I'm a biomedical engineer here.
Wait, don't talk to them. They're not giving you shit. They're right there.
Hello, I'm Michael Malin. I'm also a biomedical engineer.
Everybody knows that the most important thing is to have good data in order to make the best decisions. And this is incredibly important in healthcare. Over here, when we have to make medical decisions, we have to ensure that patients are put onto medical technology as soon as possible. This is unfortunately not possible in the emerging world. Here are... Sorry.
That's okay. There's nothing at stake here. Deep breath.
Just want to be clear, I'm trusting my medical stuff to you right now.
Come to the side. Come to the side over here.
Wait, Dave, can we turn down the house lights? We can't.
Can you turn down the house lights down a little, or the lights right in their face so they can see them? But stand here. Mark Burnett's never going to forgive if you're not in the shot.
So here in America, as soon as you get put into a hospital, you get immediately put onto sensors because they need to know how you're doing. This is simply not the case in the emerging world. Although there's medical technologies out there today, they're simply not built for these markets. They don't meet their needs. What this means is that they're too expensive for this market share, they're just really difficult to use, and honestly, they're just plain ugly. What we're building is something brand new. We're trying to get into the medical device space, and what we've realized is that middle-class hospitals, only 10% of their patients have access to continuous health monitoring. We're trying to target
Wait, 10% of which hospitals? Middle-class hospitals
middle-class
in the United
hospitals
States?
in India.
Oh, in India.
Exactly. We're targeting emerging markets, have
Okay,
access to continuous health monitoring. We're targeting the other 90% where we can get into the low-priority patients and provide them with continuous health monitoring for all patients.
So the 10% of the hospitals in India that are geared towards low and no income is who you're targeting, or the other 90%?
We're targeting 90% of the patients who are in these medical facilities who currently do not have access to any continuous health monitoring.
Okay, so you're not trying to sell to hospitals, you're trying to go direct to patient.
We're selling to the hospitals who are, our service is provided to patients, but we're selling to the hospitals. We're targeting this specific patient group in these medical facilities since they currently do
So
not
you're
have
selling to
access
hospitals?
Exactly.
It's up to them to decide which
And-
patients they're going to provide the
Exactly.
service to. Okay, your turn.
And what does it cost?
The stasis system is more beautiful, intuitive.
What's that?
The stasis system is more beautiful, intuitive.
So wait, you think people with no money in India care about beautiful?
You would like to make it beautiful.
But
as
couldn't,
well.
Could you do this like on a watch or something smaller?
Oh, you would like to think so, but unfortunately, we were trying to collect a bunch of vital signs. We're collecting 6 core health parameters: respiratory rate, blood pressure, blood oxygen, heart rate, electrocardiogram, and core body temperature. These are required parameters in
Wait,
order.
say that again?
Respiratory rate, heart rate, core body temperature,
So you're using standard off-the-shelf sensors that are available?
exactly.
Okay.
We're using off-the-shelf sensors, but we're repackaging it and putting it into a new business model that allows us to get into these developing markets.
So yes, it is more beautiful, but it's also more intuitive, and it's at 1/10 of the cost of our current competitors. Excuse me.
So what you're trying to do, you're trying to take the sensors, and you've got these buttons, right? Let me see the buttons.
They're not actually buttons, they're just a display. So essentially what we're trying to do, excuse me, there's a wire.
Yeah, I know, that's a wire. It's okay.
The buttons went
So,
away.
and that's what?
This is just a battery.
Oh, that's
for
your
our
battery. Okay,
prototype.
just plug it. Okay, so this is just, okay. So can you plug it in so I can see what the,
Thank you for
Response.
not making this a formal pitch. This is much better.
there you go. Okay. This is the machine that goes ping.
Yeah, so right now, currently, you
No
have
Monty
vitals
Python
monitors.
fans out there? Damn.
Currently, you have vitals monitors like that, and those are just simply not easy to use. They require a nurse to go around, manually collect the vital signs, and write them down on a patient chart. Ours automatically transmits this data, whatever it's collecting, to tablet
Okay,
applications.
how are you going to get the data from the patient?
Exactly.
So our monitor transmits data, such as heart rate and blood pressure.
How are you getting
to-
it from, not
The
you know,
patients.
yeah,
the
it's not
patients
like
have-
it's through osmosis. It just,
Definitely.
Yes, it's through Bluetooth point-to-point connection.
what are you giving
No,
to
the
the
patients
patient?
have blood pressure cuffs, a pulse oximeter, and 3 leads of ECG that are connected directly to that monitor through that port that you see in
Right
the
here.
front. So there's a single port that connects the patient to the monitor. The monitor wirelessly transmits this information to our Android application, which is through Bluetooth Low
Yeah,
Energy.
but it doesn't make any sense, right? So you've got these guys wired.
Yeah.
You've got Bluetooth,
Yes.
right? You're collecting via sensors that are standard off-the-shelf sensors,
Yeah.
right? And why would you even bring it to this ugly piece of shit, right? When you could just send it right to and collect it right there.
Because it exists, I know, like for example, in Germany and Switzerland right now, all the medical facilities are transmitting directly from your body to like a watch thing or
Yeah,
an
what
iPad.
is this? What is the purpose of
There's
this?
electronics in there that are required to be able to collect these different vital signs. In order to get these biosignals, you need to go through a lot of circuitry, which just simply cannot be simplified into a watch form factor.
Look, I pull out my phone and I collect
This
those
is
6 things
definitely-
right in my Android phone.
Completely understood, but those are digital signals. Those are digital things, so they're much easier to do. A computer is all digital.
Yeah, but
what we're doing is
you're giving the
analog
patient
signals.
these devices. Now you're saying those are analog.
Those are just cables. They're cables that, like, if, for example, an ECG electrode just gets attached to your body, but those electrodes carry the signal to get processed, analyzed, grown into a real signal that can be then analyzed by
Yeah, but
computers.
why would you use analog instead of digital?
Everything has to be analog because your biosignals are analog. Your heart rate is not a digital signal. Your
Yeah, but
blood
it
pressure
takes-
is not a digital signal.
There's digital heart monitors, there's digital everything. I mean,
No,
you-
but the circuitry to make that digital needs to exist, and those do take up space, and that's why that monitor is that size.
How much are you selling these things for?
Right now, we're trying to sell these for a subsidized cost of $300 or $250, and we are trying to, we charge hospitals on a recurring revenue basis. Essentially, instead of making them pay a large upfront fee, those monitors generally run around $3,000. What we do is we charge them we charge patients $15, and $7 goes to us, $7 goes to
If
the
you
hospitals.
examine those economics, I mean,
Yes,
how are
we
you going to
have.
charge, so they can afford in rupees or whatever it is
Exactly.
in India.
So we've done a lot of customer discovery to really talk to these hospitals and really identify what is preventing them from buying full monitoring systems. Currently, the main issue is that in order to put a 30-bed installation for all their low-priority patients, it costs over $90,000 for them. Our system costs $10,000 initial investment, and they pay only as they get patients. This unique business model allows them.
I get what you're trying to do,
Exactly.
right? The whole idea is, look, if it's analog, it's cheaper, right? So you're putting all the circuitry in here to try to capture it using, standard AD type conversions, right? Through this port, right? And then you take it from Bluetooth, and so this is just your conversion device.
Yes, this is
right?
a black box that collects data.
It's just, but it actually doesn't really, it just converts the data to digital, and then you send it over Bluetooth to the phone, and that's where you collect it, right?
In order to get these, it's important to note that, for example, like the heart rate sensor that you have on like an iWatch or any of those things, they're not medical quality. They're not medical devices.
Yeah, that's not true anymore, right? Because they're close enough for the scenario that you're working in, right? Maybe you're not going to use the one off your phone in an emergency room, right? But digital technology and capturing, that's what I'd have to understand before I make or break a decision on this, right?
Definitely.
That there aren't other digital scenarios where you don't have to convert from analog to digital and then send to another device. Because that's the part to me that doesn't seem to make sense.
I think it's really important to note that all biosignals are analog, and they do have to be converted, and they do need to be filtered, amplified, and there are systems that need to be in place.
But there's ways, like I have a company that takes the moisture from your skin,
Yeah.
right, and converts it and analyzes what's in there and converts it to data so we could tell, the amount of oxygen and other things for our athletes, right? And so, yeah, there's something that has to touch, and that's analog in some respect,
Exactly.
but it captures it right there and converts it right there,
Exactly.
right? Breathometer, which was a Shark Tank company, right? You blow in and it captures, and immediately right in that device that you connect to your phone, which is that big, right, it converts it to digital, right? I don't understand why you have the, I mean, I know what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Right, but why wouldn't you be able to take a device that big that connects right into someone's phone and do the same thing and be less expensive?
It's important to know that this is also a prototype, and this will get better over time. We're still very early stage of a company, and we're trying to develop this technology out. When we are able to convert these into digital signals, what we're really building out is the infrastructure for these facilities. We get this data, put it onto a tablet, where we're the first mobile vitals monitoring tracking system for these hospitals. And so we're doing something that doesn't exist
What's the
today.
barrier to entry? What's the stops anybody doing this?
Yeah, it's actually really hard to be able to not only collect this data signs, which are being done by these bigger players, but try and recreate this using smartphone technologies. Right now, a lot of the reasons why this is different and innovative is that we're making sure that it's low cost, low priority, or it's low cost and it's very battery efficient, and it's able to use the latest in technologies to get this data to the application.
Look, maybe I
and
just
access them
I
to the
don't
cloud.
know it, right? And obviously
Definitely.
I'm not prepared to have done and haven't done any research on it. But having been involved a lot in sensors over a lot of years, right? There are ways to capture, and I get that this is a prototype, a proof of concept, right? But what I don't get is why it's so big and why it can't just be an attachment to a phone, right? So my advice to you is that you have a roadmap that you're very clear about that says, look, this thing is just for me to demonstrate to you that within X amount of time, it's going to be that big, it's going to plug right into your phone or not have to plug into a phone, just any device can just connect via Bluetooth or mesh network or whatever it may be and communicate the information. Because I get wholeheartedly that this is expensive, this is less expensive. But a lot of the reasons this is expensive is because these companies are entrenched.
Yeah.
Right? And when you go to sell to the hospital administrators, they're going to take a year. We didn't even get into the selling process. I just did a pediatric care hackathon where we tried to convince healthcare hospitals to cut their buying time from a year or longer to weeks. And so, maybe it's different in India, but I would really be certain about the buying cycle for those hospitals, because you guys could get stuck not only, not being able to fulfill your roadmap, but not having customers. So that's my advice.
So one thing I will say to you as well, I'm not going to invest in this, but I will help you, that I don't know about India, but I do know Africa really well. So if you think about Africa, people are living in very rural conditions. The trouble is trying to get to a hospital.
Definitely.
Which it could be, several days, weeks walk to get there. So in Rwanda, for example, the whole country's changed. My friend Rick Warren realized there were more local churches in rural communities. So they trained healthcare paramedics to work in these churches, in each village. This is the sort of thing that would be great for the governments to subsidize and put in each of these paramedic centers, not actual hospitals. Because imagine how many people can never, ever get to a city or get to a hospital, but they can make it for an hour's walk with their family to a local healthcare facility, which is this sort of thing could be really useful.
Yeah, but then you have to deal with getting these. You're going to have to get it to something that's much smaller. Like we had another guy that came on that had a thermometer, right? And the thermometer goes in your mouth and can collect a lot of different things, right? But it connects right to your phone. Right, and even in developing nations where they don't have smartphones, they just they have lower cost low power phones. You're going to have to figure out a way to connect to them somehow. You got to have a roadmap. I don't think with this as the device, I don't think it has a chance. I really, really don't. And again, I'm uneducated, so this is me going out on a limb, because if there are hospitals there, or anything like the hospitals here, the buying process for them to try to get to this, knowing all the pieces involved, I think that's going to be tough. Now, if you get someone to subsidize it, give it away, this is a project, you know, that's less
Because
business
one
and
thing
more.
you're doing, which is really admirable, is realizing that, yeah, we all live great here, but so many people in the world are dying from things they shouldn't be dying from.
Definitely.
And there's no data, there's no way to help them. And so things like this that start with the right intention have a really great chance to make it. I think Mark's right about technologically, it's like almost going to a country now and starting a checking account thing, which, you know, or then credit cards. Everything's jumping to digital. So it's like going backwards. But the idea is really admirable, and I think there's something there for the third world, the developing world, to help these people. Millions of people need this kind of help.
Well, thank you very
Great
much.
Thank you guys so much.
That's
Shake hands.
Good luck, guys. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Mark. I never wanted to do this more.
Stasis Labs. Stasis Labs.
Good luck, man. Congratulations.
You get it real. You want to do one more? You wanna do-
Sure, yeah.
Okay, we'll do one more.
I can go all
one
night.
more. Envoy now. Get up here. Let's go. Real quick. Then we'll go to
I'm no
questions.
rush. I'm no rush.
Joe,
Envoy now.
Warren
You guys ready?
No, Rick, yeah.
changed Rwanda in terms of healthcare by figuring
Yep.
out these
You can
local
vote. You can
little
vote.
church communities are so close to villages, and
All right.
paramedics and put them in the
Let it rip.
and it like changed everything.
In Ink Magazine, Envoy now. Let's go. Envoy now.
Everyone know that. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hey, Chad.
Oh yeah.
Hi, Anthony. Hey, Gabriel.
Hey guys,
You think that helps?
let me know. So, with us college students being the biggest market segment for food delivery, but there's a problem when they see us on the map. You know, with a college campus on the map, it's only a big blank space. They don't see the dorms, they don't see the libraries, and they don't know how to get access inside. Well, my roommate and I were studying in the library as freshman year, and we thought to ourselves, we were frustrated. Why do we have to go outside the library, lose our study spot, and meet them at the gate? Why can't it just be easier? And we thought about it. There's only one reason, and it's access. The only people that are able to give the extra access as well as the knowledge to be able to find people when they want to get food are college students. So what we created is a campus-wide food delivery service utilizing 100% student workforce, and that's how Envoy Now was born. So what we do is on the supply side, we leverage 100% student workforce, just like Uber. It's a flexible part-time job. They can work whenever they want around their busy class schedules. And on the demand side, we have faculty, we have students able to order it right up to their dorms. I've even had a professor who's stopped class to order Chipotle burrito to our classroom. So we've launched at USC as a beta in September. We've since expanded to Wisconsin and your alma mater, Indiana University. And if we end up winning this Inc. bracket thing, I'd say we should fly out to Bloomington and celebrate a bluebird.
What else?
Any questions?
I mean, for the 103rd, campus delivery pitch I've heard, it's not bad. If you're going to sell it, then tell me, an anecdotal stories are great when you're, on Shark Tank and when you're telling your mom, so she's proud, or your girlfriend, a boy, whatever. But you didn't tell me shit. You think it's a hard concept for someone to say, oh man, college kids want shit delivered. Who would have thunk?
What do they need to have, Mark? What do you need? I mean, when you
You
hear
need
a
to tell
pitch,
me something. You need to tell me
where's
something,
your
right?
traction? Where's your customers?
Okay,
Where are
so
your successes?
a number of customers. You open to multiple markets, right? Great, right? What are your sales that you put in your pocket? What are your margins, right? How much? What's your break even? What does it take to open up another market? Why are you going to keep on opening up the market? There's apps where you just hit one button on an app and it orders pizza automatically.
But how much are you looking for?
We're currently in the middle of a round for $100,000 at 10%. So
I mean, that's not horrible. So, but I mean, what have you done?
I can tell you that right now.
Yeah,
I'm
so we
listening.
launched USC last September, and in the first semester we did over $22,000 in GMV. We've since launched 2 more campuses and have launched this semester, and are at about
Okay, let's start there. $22,000 in gross margin dollars.
Yeah, I'll give you
Merchandising
$100,000 for
Gross,
5%.
gross merchandise value?
Yeah.
Oh, so now you're feeding me bullshit fucking numbers. Okay. Gross merchandise value?
$100,000 for 5%.
So wait, how
Cut
much?
Cuban out of it.
Wait, how much did you make from the? So
But
20
yes or no?
gross margin value means that's the total value of all the products you sold, right?
So I just did it. $100,000 for 5%, right?
No, 10%.
No, they offered 10%. They
No,
said
no, no, no,
10%.
I said,
10, no,
You
10.
took less than what they offered?
yes.
Oh, you're crazy.
We have a deal.
There you go.
This is like working with Barbara. It's like working with Barbara.
Here's the most important lesson you'll ever get. When you get yes, shut up
Yeah, take it.
and leave. Envoy.
Because there's one point.
You have a question? Sorry.
The other 5% has to go back to USC. Okay, 100%. Wait, because I want to be clear that the other 5% has to go to USC Business School. All right?
He says the other 5% is going to USC Business School. We'll figure something out. We will figure something out. Envoy.
Good luck, guys.
I'm now.
You understand what gross margin value means?
I want to know.
Okay, Barbara.
All right, guys.
I like him.
Okay. Sure, let's do another one.
Guys, this is not a question and answer session. Just hold up.
Someone try to
Guys, wait a
bum rush the
second.
stage.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Let's do another one.
You want one more talent trail? Let's go real quick.
Got a good idea. There's 100 of them.
Last one, talent trail. Now, I would really like, guys, quiet down. I would really like to bat third right now, seeing what just happened, right? So, no long stories. No, my grandmother needed this. This is about traction, success. What have you done? What have you done? Let's go. Talent trail. Stand to the side.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So Talent Trail is automating career services using data.
Wait, I can't understand a word you're saying. Slow
Sorry.
down.
Too excited here. Sorry. All right. Talent Trail is automating career services using data. So what we want to do is help students throughout the career process from 16 to 26 understand exactly what they need to do, the skills they need to learn, the resources they need to get, the internships they need to have so that they can land their first job. So here's what we've built so far. We launched an internship matching site. We built an algorithm with the co-founder and chief scientist of eHarmony, and we put together this matching platform. We work with companies like Tinder, Secret, Acorns, and of course, Cyberdust. And we make it really easy. So this research-backed matching algorithm helps us find really good candidates across the nation, but also sort and rank all the candidates. So instead of a recruiter having to travel everywhere and have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on finding a good candidate, we make it super easy, super quick, painless. And on the student side, if you're a quality student, we'll actually funnel you different positions. So as a student, if you're good, you don't have to spend all of your time searching for positions. We'll find you really good companies to work for. So we have thousands of students across the nation from Harvard, Stanford, MIT, you name it, all on our platform.
So how do you source your data?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So everything's stored in So everything's stored in our database right now. We use SPSS to analyze all of the data. We look for correlations, both in terms of what people have done before.
That's not what I asked.
Sure.
I didn't say where you stored your data or how you searched your data
Sure.
or how you ran your analysis of it. I asked how you source your data.
Okay, got it. So students apply. When they go through the application process, we have a proprietary survey that we
Okay.
developed with them.
That's on one side, right?
Yep.
That's the easy side.
Right.
Right? Because anybody who wants an internship, there's always going to be a lot of
course.
candidates. Bam, you just fill it out.
Right.
The hard part, obviously, is sourcing the internships.
Right.
Right? Do they pay or do they not pay? Where are they at?
Right.
Are they legit or
Yep.
nonsense? So how do you source all those?
Absolutely. So getting the internships on our site, is that the question?
How are you sourcing the internship?
Got it. So we started off with direct sales. We actually went straight to companies that we thought would be interesting, that students would love, and give students an amazing experience, and we went there. Then we started partnering with VC funds. So VC funds will actually start giving us internships at the companies that they funded.
Good. Okay, so what's the number? So now the challenge is scale, right? So you're going to have, it's almost like applying to colleges now. That part becomes easy, right?
Absolutely.
Right, and so you're going to have an unlimited of applicants, right? So how long have you guys been in business?
So we launched more officially about 2 months ago.
2 months ago,
Yep.
okay. How many internships have you been able to acquire so far?
So we publicly have about 70 available, but we have over 200 companies on a wait list because we're testing in tiers and releasing them in tiers.
Okay. No, I like it, right? It's very comparable to a company I have called Hourly Nerd,
Yeah.
right? Where they take graduates, MBA graduates from 6 of the top schools,
Right.
and people come in and offer projects that the MBAs then bid on to work on a project basis.
Right.
So you can stay at home, you don't have to get a consulting job or whatever. So it's very comparable.
Right.
Right. So what's your pain point?
The pain point we're solving or the pain point that we have right now?
Your pain point you have right now?
So a couple things. I think the biggest thing that we want to prove out is our growth model. There are a lot of companies
Your
in
which?
this growth model.
Okay.
So we've tested a lot of things, and we have students, and we're at a point where if we have a cool company, students are going to come on. But we definitely need to scale at a faster pace. This is a market that is pretty crowded, to be honest. There are a lot of companies out there that are trying to, help companies solve that problem.
Okay, so then who's the biggest and how do you differentiate yourself? from them?
Absolutely. So we have a very low cost of acquisition for students, and much lower than what typical companies in our space have. The other side is selling on companies. Most companies hire a huge sales team. So that's what most companies have been doing.
So you're saying you've got well-funded competitors that are out there going to the same people you're going to, basically.
In a sense.
Yeah, because you're hitting some, they haven't gotten full reach yet.
Right.
Right, so you've got your niche of people here
Yep.
on the West Coast,
Exactly.
LA-based and San
Yep.
Francisco-based VCs
Right.
that you've developed relationships with. They might you have one in New York,
Sure.
one in Dallas, wherever, right? And so what do you need, what is your secret sauce that makes you different? So the minute you guys go head-to-head
Yeah.
at a potential a company that's offering internships,
Sure.
what's your selling pitch versus them?
Absolutely. So we play with the data side very heavily. Most of these companies are job boards, and at heart, they are a job board. You go on, you look at positions, and great, right? We are thinking of things as far as pipelines. So being able to group students in new ways, not just grouping by colleges, which is how recruiters think about it now, thinking USC, Harvard. We want to group it based on skills, based on resources, based on heuristics that they already look at when they're hiring.
And what other data are you capturing about your students other than the basic resume type stuff?
Totally.
So how are you going to track? Are you going to track them through the process to know whether or not there's a success factor?
Totally. So to answer your first question, personality is one element that we actually track. The co-founder of eHarmony is really good at that. He's one of the psychometric leaders in the industry. So he helps us understand team. So through a series of questions that we developed, we can understand how well someone develops in a small team, whether they like a bigger team, and that is a new team dynamic element.
So it's a
they can
dating
come
app,
into.
dating app for internships,
In a
right?
sense, you could think about it that way. And the whole goal is to help cultural fit, right? That's one element that I think in this space hasn't been touched almost at all.
Culture fits. What
Yes,
you're saying. No, I
exactly.
think that's critical. Okay.
So that's one.
So you're
critical
developing
area.
your own analysis, your own heuristics
Exactly.
in terms of trying
Exactly.
to define not only on the student end, but also on the company end, so they'll have more successful internships, so they'll come back to you.
Yep.
And what's the revenue model? How do you charge?
Yeah, so we started off charging companies on a monthly basis by launching these listings for them and basically telling them, you don't have to worry about looking for interns, we'll take care of it for you. The feedback that we've gotten, so companies were willing to pay for that. The feedback we got was, this is a competitive space, so remove every piece of friction you can. So stop charging companies and get as many people on and
Okay.
build that community. So that's what we've been doing.
Okay. And how much have you got? You bootstrapped the whole thing, and how much
So,
have you?
so USC actually has been tremendously generous. We've gotten about $20K in just grants, awards, and that's been amazing for us. So thank you so much, USC, Dave, all of everyone, because that's literally been.
And what do
how
you
we
got?
got here.
And so, what do you need to get to the next level right now?
Yeah. So we're starting to put together a $250K round, and the goal is so. As a sort of a disclaimer, we're going full-time on this to really start scaling this out and really compete in this industry. So we're starting to look at this in terms of how do we grow to the numbers that all of our competitors are starting to look at? How do we move faster? How do we use the data? So R&D and marketing are the two big areas that we're spending.
Got it. Well, I'll get you my email when it's all said and done, and
Yep.
we'll exchange some ideas, and we'll see if we're interested.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Let's hear it for
thanks.
Talent Trail. So that was better than some question and answers. That we don't get, guys. We're USC. Let's quiet down, please. So it's rare that you get two guys like this here. Mark just stopped in. He's actually got to run, but I want to thank him. He's one of my favorite stories, one of my favorite entrepreneurs, and a guy who just does anything for USC. Please thank Mark Burnett. Mark.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming out.
I want to make money.
You won't.
So put me in touch with those guys. And also, and just 5% of that will go to USC.
Mark Burnett.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Here's what we're gonna do in our remaining time. Anybody who wants to ask a question through CyberDust, do it. We're gonna bring up the co-founder of CyberDust and the CEO to answer some questions.
Right.
Bring up Ryan Azonian. Ryan is an
Ryan?
alumnus of USC. Where is he, Ryan? Let's go. Let's hear it for him. All right, Ryan. You better. I know you're good with pitches. What is CyberDust and why is it different? And why does every student across America have to have this app?
Whoa. Okay.
Right.
What is CyberDust and why is it different? First of all, the way we store messages is not anything like Snapchat. Nothing hits a hard drive, nothing's ever saved on your device, nothing's stored on our servers. It's all stored in random access memory, and once it disappears, it's actually gone forever. A lot of people like to make the Snapchat comparison, but on a security level, it actually can't be recovered, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I would, Tran, tech or otherwise, are you now, okay, so here's the first question. When we get into the questions, you'll start to see how CyberDust works, so it's a little bit easier. So first question comes from Laz Alberto, okay, USC Trojan, shocking, aspiring to graduate. What trend, tech or otherwise, are you most interested in right now? Sensors, personalized medicine, really machine vision, machine learning. As processors become faster and faster and faster, and we're able to process more information quickly, and we're able to acquire information from everything around us, then I think we're going to get into a period where information is delivered to us as opposed to us having to go get it. Right now, when you want something, historically you'd look it up on Google, right? Tell me more about machine learning, or tell me what the weather is. But I think over time, and more so, like you saw one of the pitches, sensors will tell us everything that's going on around us. Sensors will tell us what's happening. They'll tell us the weather, and it'll be delivered to us. And one of the things that CyberDust does, it can take sources and allow you to follow those sources and deliver it to you. And so on CyberDust, now that you've followed me at Ask Mark USC, I can do what's known as a blast, which is almost like a tweet, but it's private, and say, here's a video, and say...
Make sure it's appropriate.
Yeah, no chance. Turn it around. CyberDust is different because now you can follow me.
Fight on.
And you can ask me questions, and I'll answer them. Because it's private, I can answer them privately. See, what's happening now in social media in particular is that, let me blast it out, make public, plus, send. Okay, what's happening now in social media, many people here on Twitter?
Yeah, everybody's on Twitter.
No, is everybody, seriously, not every, in college not everybody is.
Who's on Twitter? Yeah.
Who's not on Twitter?
All right.
So, because what's happening on Twitter now is before you post anything, you keep the lights up. I'd rather see, I'm curious because I'll ask more questions. When you post something on Twitter now, what do you have to do? You have to think twice. How am I going to get slammed? How am I going to get trolled about this, right? And so that changes the conversation. When Twitter first came out, it was a social network. You could talk to people, you could meet people. Now you have to watch everything that you say. That's what CyberDust cures in terms of one-to-many communications and one-to-one communications. So now you can ask me a question, just like the one I answered from Alberto, and I can give you an answer and not worried about what anybody else thinks. If you post something to my timeline on Twitter, I have to think, okay, who's going to crush me? How many Mavs sucks am I going to get? How many Shark Tank sucks? How many you uglies? How many, your mama uglies am I going to get? That's what public social media has become. Now I can take another question from Kelsey O'Neill. If you could shadow one person for a day in business, who would it be and why? Warren Buffett. because the guy's smart. He works hard to know and keep information. What I love about Warren Buffett is he's always learning. And there's nothing spectacular about who he is. There's a lot of spectacular things about what he's done. But he knows that in order to make successful investments today, he's always learning. And that's how he stays ahead. That's what I try to do. I try to stay ahead. That's what CyberDust is about. Now you can communicate with me, and I'm broadcasting it, but I'll give you a personal answer. We have people that we call chatters and others that are public that are, entrepreneurs, that are celebrities, that are business people. And literally we have college kids that'll follow, people who are in their fields of interest and just ask them questions. If I'm looking for a job, what should I watch out for? Or I'm starting this company, can you give me advice? And they'll answer you. Yep. And what's happened is we've developed this unique community of people who exchange information, and because it's private, because after you read a message, it's gone forever, that privacy engenders honesty and openness, and that's what made the CyberDust community big.
And just want me to interject, all these things you see happening with him jumping on things and responding, like it's not a show.
Yeah.
So we heard about Aaron Levy at Box who sent him a cold email. Another one of our loans. He got a $150,000 investment.
The guy who started Uber. Travis sent me his last company was when I invested with him. Cold email. Now I said no to Uber. I tried to negotiate on Uber. I have the best email from him. He sent me an email from Uber Cab. Had just started, hadn't really done anything. I said, you're going to get crushed by all the taxi cab companies. I don't like your valuation. Let's talk about it. Someone offered him like 7 times the valuation. I never heard back from Travis. So that was the one that got away.
But Ryan, how did when you connected with Mark, you never even spoke with him? You never met with him before he funded the company, right?
No, but the main point there is I had already acted and built something. Would you agree? Yeah. I mean, I wrote him a 3-sentence email that said, here I am, or here's who I am, here's what I've built, and here's how many people use it already. And he said, tell me more. And I told him more, and in 8 minutes, you said, I'm in. And
I've been quick
bam,
to say,
thank you, ma'am.
Has anybody ever heard of the documentary Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room?
Yeah.
That was the first movie I ever produced, right? I got an email from Alex Gibney, the director, and he said, I got this unique and exclusive video from Enron. I want to do a documentary. I sent him back an email. I said, that's cool. Tell me more. He sent me one right back, and I'm like, okay, how much is it going to cost? He said, $770,000. I said, done. And so in 12 minutes, I greenlit this movie, Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room, which went on to be nominated for an Academy Award. And I'm thinking, this movie shit's easy.
Yeah, you always win the first one.
Right, but now giving your email out is crazy, right? I used to do it all the time, not anymore. Giving out your phone number is ridiculous. It's not safe, right? So you can give out your Snapchat ID, okay, that's something. But you give out your CyberDust ID, and you exchange messages with someone you just met, someone you're thinking about doing business. It's safe. It's much safer. On Snapchat, if you try to have a chat, they keep everything, right? It doesn't disappear. You can save anything that you chat with anybody, and it stays on Snapchat servers. With us, let me put it a different way. When you text, when you email, when you send a snap, when you send, even an Instagram picture, the minute you hit send, you lose ownership of that picture or text or video. But you don't lose responsibility. How many of you have had texts that you sent a year, 2 years, 5 years ago, come back just to a friend, that they embarrassed you with, or they posted somewhere, or they put on Facebook, or someone that you used to date and called Schmoopy, right? And they kept all of them. The point being that you guys are just starting your lives. You're just getting out there, whether it's business, your personal, or going for a job. Your digital footprint has got to start shrinking. You may not think, I never do anything bad. I have a daughter, 11-year-old daughter. And I know there's going to be some dumbass kid, like I was, that she sends a message to that says, I love you. Now, it could be for finding his iPad, for saving his dog. It could be for anything. But when she hits send on that message, it loses all context. All context. That's why you want to shrink your digital footprint. That's why, you guys have heard about the Sony hack, right? So Mark Burnett sold a lot of the rights to distribute Shark Tank to Sony. They sent me an email saying, okay, it's time to negotiate your deal. I'm like, you guys are full of shit. I'm not doing this on email. This is before the hack came out. I'm not doing this email. I'm only going to do it on CyberDust. So we negotiated my entire Shark Tank deal on CyberDust while they were being hacked and didn't know it. Nothing happened. I negotiated my deal, didn't know anything. Everything was fine. You know the rest of the story with Sony. It matters. Everything that you do now is going to be interpreted by somebody when you look for a job, when you make an investment or get an investment, and things that you write today are going to show up 10. The guy from Snapchat, his old listservs from his fraternities came out. Yep. If you don't think about shrinking your digital footprint and think it doesn't matter, it is going to catch up with you, and CyberDust is a great way to do it. It's a great way to connect people. So let me get a couple more questions. Johnny Waffles, great name. How are you going to make money? Okay. How are you going to make money? It sounds like a rap song. Okay.
Next one. Last one.
Already did that. Z-Bond. I'm a USC freshman and I'm working on a healthcare startup. I would love to be able to give you a brief phone call or email. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. You just downloaded an app where you have a way to send me a message. And you want me to phone call you or email you. You didn't figure it out. If you can't figure that out, you're out. Sorry.
Get a new account, write them again. Get a new account, write them again.
Yeah. Is there a limit to how many companies you will invest in the future? No. So if any of you guys have an idea, now you know how to reach me. Shocking, right? And it brings up one more point, just as a general observation, something you guys should take going forward. People, what are the keys to success? A couple things. One, the easiest way to be successful is find something you love to do and be great at it. Because when you're great at something, things get really, really easy. I've realized that I got to be really, really good at business, really good at tech, and it made it easy when I started a company. That's one. Number two, let's say you can't get there. Be prepared. Understand, put yourselves in the shoes of the people or the businesses that you're working with. The message that I just got on CyberDust is a perfect example. If he would have put himself in my shoes, it would be obvious that CyberDust is important to me. I'm trying to push everybody to message using it. I volunteered, and Dave mentioned that, hey, I'm going to be answering questions long after this is over from you people, from everybody sending me messages. So CyberDust is obviously important to me. And so if you're able to do something that reflects something that's important to me, or whoever it is that you're working or trying to get a job with, or trying to get an internship with, or trying to get an investment from, if you can put yourself in their shoes and put yourself in context of what's important to them, your chances of being successful increase 99%, 1,000-fold, right? And one other point I'll leave with you, right? If you're working for somebody, the best way to be successful is by reducing the stress of those around you. It's not about you. I mean, it's always about me, but that's a different point. But it's not about you. It's about the people around you. If you're reducing the stress of the people around you, those people start to gravitate towards you. They want to work with you because you make going to work easier, more pleasant. You help them accomplish their goals. You help put them in a position to succeed by reducing their stress. So if you remember those three things, and plus some of the other things we said today, selling, etc., you will be successful. Then you just got to go out and do the work. So
great advice. Great advice. All right, we actually have a couple students that we want to come up. Can Corliss and Nicola come up for a little bit of a presentation? Are you guys out there, Corliss and Nicola? I can see Nicola. He's a tall guy.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
It's on. It was on.
On behalf of all the students here at USC, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Trojan family.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you again.
I hope so. Thank you. I got a big head.
There you go. There you go. Get a picture.
Hello, Mark. On behalf of basketball team, USC Athletics, and all students of USC, we would like you to have and wear this USC basketball jersey.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Get in there and take a picture. Get in there and take a picture. Go ahead, take a picture. Appreciate it, man. Get there with this. There you go. That is awesome.
Cool.
All right, thanks, guys.
Congratulations, man. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, before we go home, we wanted to invite up our benefactor and the person after whom the Greif Center was named. Please welcome Lloyd Greif. Lloyd.
You okay?
Come on up here, Mark.
Oh, damn.
So that cap you're wearing, that's a non-3D version. This is a 3D version of our logo. And you'll see it up top as well. This red dot is the entrepreneur. That's you. That's standing apart from the crowd, marching to the beat of his own drummer. I'm here to congratulate you on being named the 2015 Entrepreneur of the Year for the Lloyd Greif Center for Entrepreneurial Studies. And I want to say, let's hear it.
Thank you, Lord.
There's nothing we treasure more than a serial entrepreneur, and that's the gentleman that's in my presence right now. He has done it time and time again, and you know he'll do it again, and you'll be watching him as he does it. And the other thing is, of course, we're talking about a angel investor, for the ages. And what we do at the Greif Center is what he's doing on Shark Tank and what he's doing in life, which is fostering entrepreneurship, encouraging entrepreneurship, inspiring entrepreneurship, and backing entrepreneurship. So give it up for Mark Cuban.
Thank you, Lord. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Take a picture.
One more. I want to bring up Helena Ilirenko, who's the director of the Entrepreneur Program. Left hand, non-skiing accident. All right, one more. One more time.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Good luck to the entrepreneurs. Good luck to the Mavs, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Let's hear it one more time. USC. Mark Cuban. Mark.
Appreciate it. Thank you.